can you charge more? And perceived value is a great way to kind of increase your prices. So if you show that, like, when I don't just email you a report or just, send you text messages back and forth. I have a very detailed process for when I send you reports, and I send you videos, and I have a website with all these teams of people, and we provide you with updates on the latest, tax credits and tax code changes and all these different things. It increases the level of confidence. It shows that you've thought through all these different points and processes, and that people are willing to charge more for that, willing to pay more for that.
I'm Brandon Poe, and this is the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast, where you can enjoy engaging conversations about mergers and acquisitions and accounting practice management. Listen in on strategies to build a more fun and valuable accounting firm. All right, thanks for listening to another episode of Accountant's Flight Plan podcast. Today, I have Kristen Corey, who I met at a accounting type of seminar, and I just was struck by some of the stuff that you were talking about around marketing. So Kristen has a bachelor and master's in accounting. She went into public accounting and became an auditor, but she had the opportunity to move abroad, and you started doing marketing work for entrepreneurs. And she quickly gained experience working with different industries like tech, fashion, legal, real estate, even a high-end chocolate brand. Yeah. That's exciting. And then your experience grew from doing PR, graphic design, inbound marketing, social media management to website development. And then you came back from being overseas, and you were hired by a boutique accounting company to work as both an accountant and a marketer. There's a couple of different hats that you don't see very often worn by the same person. So that's when you kind of combined your two favorite industries. And then you started your own marketing agency dedicated to helping accounting firms. So very cool story, and welcome, Kristen.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Just an easy just switch between industries. Why not?
Yeah. If you think about it, it's sort of what I did. I was an accountant too. I was an auditor, and now I'm marketing CPA firms. We sell CPA firms as our primary business. So, and I kind of think in some ways we are a marketing company, since we create a lot of marketing, we create a lot of content, we do inbound, we do social, so I can very much relate to your career path. The overseas part, I'm interested in your take on that. How long did you live overseas?
Yeah, so I was overseas for 2 years, and this was in 2016 to 2018, and remote work wasn't a thing back then. It was very different from kind of like the online world today with the accounting industry. And I was in France. I did not speak French. When it came to job opportunities, online was really the only option. And I did a few other things like before trying out market, like I did teaching English online, which was awful. And just trying to find random odd jobs. And online marketing was really like the most welcoming, just because of the nature of like the platform. It's online marketing.
Wow.
And so, I built experience there primarily on Upwork.
Oh yeah.
Upwork again is very different today from what it was all those years ago. That was kind of my introduction to marketing, just kind of like a desperate need to work.
So was it just kind of happenstance? Like how did you choose marketing, or did it kind of fall in your lap? It was sort of an accident that you got into it, or?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like I left public accounting with like a master's in accounting and like experience, and like trying to switch to a new industry. I remember I applied to a job to write like study note cards for high school students. It was a random job, and I got like denied for that. And I'm thinking, I have this great experience. Like, why is it so hard to find a job online right now? And I actually got a random email from like an app company. I don't know if it's still operating, but it was called Glam Outfit. And did you ever watch Clueless, like from the 90s?
I vaguely remember that.
Okay. There's a scene in Clueless where she's like in the future, and she's all like rich and fancy, and she has this like digital closet where she can see what she looks like in the clothes. And that was the idea behind the app. And it was like this like really cool developer from San Francisco, and they just sent an email blast out to all their users. I was one of the users, guilty. Um, and they were looking for someone to join their marketing team. And I was one of the few people that responded. It was an internship. It was unpaid. And so that was like my first like, I need to do something. I need to build a resume. Um, I'll work for free. Fine. I'm not doing anything. And so that was my first kind of experience is like, okay, I'm living abroad. I don't have any work. Let me try working for this app I
Yeah,
found
that's cool.
online. And yeah, it was really cool just because like the owner had a background in PR, and that was just my first education was writing these blog posts, telling me how to reach out to different publications, social media content on Twitter. Um, and yeah, it was just my first exposure, but it kind of stacked on top of my experience from there. I was like, okay, I can write blog content. Let me go see what I can find online. Stumbled upon Upwork, did wrote blog posts for very, very little pay. And over time, like I got better. I got a stack of clients and kind of like you do the thing where you're like, you keep getting better clients. So you let the other clients go. Yeah, I mean, in about 2 years, I was turning down work pretty frequently. Uh,
Oh, that's great.
so
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
That's
it was,
awesome.
it
Well, I
was
was just
great.
thinking about writing, like, you start writing. I feel like auditing in some ways makes you become a decent writer. Like you have to practice saying things very succinctly so that other people can understand them when they come
Yeah.
in. So I don't know if that helped you or not, but I was an auditor and I come to think about like an early auditor, how difficult it was to word some of those procedures that I was completing as an auditor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm actually from my family is all writers. My father and my sister, they're both published authors. And so, just my entire life, being able to speak well and communicate well, even with ChatGPT today, it is so important. You're not always going to have the robots there to help you. And so, yeah, I mean, being able to communicate, it's a big part of marketing. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people are intimidated by it, but being able to present yourself well is important. I think in any field, it doesn't matter that accountants are mainly numbers. You need to know how to communicate. Otherwise, people aren't going to really find, I think, a ton of value in what you do.
Yeah. Well, how do you think, you've worked in different industries too. Like you worked from chocolate to, you know, fashion and legal, now accounting. How do you feel that the cross pollination has occurred? Meaning, like you've worked in these different, the experience you might gain in selling chocolates could
Yeah.
carry over to how you market in accounting firms. Like, has there been a benefit to you, do you think, by working in so many different industries?
Um, I would say if anything, it's made it very clear that accountants are who I like to work with. From time to time, I'm tempted to dabble in different industries. Like I'll find a cool business. I'll be like, oh, like I'll just submit a proposal or I'll see if they want. And time again, I'm like, what did I do? Like I want to go back
Yeah.
and work. And I think if you have a portfolio of clients where everyone is very different industries, it's somehow difficult to see the consistencies between the same industries. But when you work with one single industry and you every once in a while pull in different clients, you definitely see the similarities with the accounting field. And so, a lot of those different experiences, I credit them. They helped me get better at what, I do today or, get into the field of what I do today. But yeah, I know accountants are who I like working with. And I think just having done this for years, I think that's been the best kind of experience credibility booster is just continuing to double down on like,
Yeah.
this is who we like working with.
Yeah. And you understand the industry well because came from it. So
Yeah.
um, that doesn't hurt either, right? Like,
Yeah, no, no. I mean, that's the thing is like, we'll be able to brainstorm in ways that other marketers can't. For example, I had a client a year ago and they're focusing very much on their local community and wanting to get accounting clients from there. And they wanted to have like a calendar and there were two business owners and they're kind of going at it. And one of them's like, we need to have a calendar of local events. And they're like, what does that have to do with accounting? Why do we need to have a local event calendar? And I'm like, okay, what if we combine local events with tax deadlines? So at least there's some overlap. And they both lit up and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's so like, yeah, we can talk about estimated taxes. And not
yeah.
every that wouldn't be top of mind for every marketer that the accounting calendar doesn't really change, but it is important. And so I think we're in unexpected ways, able to add brainstorming ideas just because we've been working with accountants for so long.
Yeah. What do you say to accountants that think they don't need marketing? Because I run into those people. Like I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to a seller or someone who's thinking about exiting, an established practice owner. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we get all of our business from referrals. We don't do any marketing, and it's like a badge of honor. What do you say to that?
Yeah. So I have two follow-up questions to that. One, is every single client you have the best client you've ever had? If the answer is no, then there's probably some room for some filtering and shuffling out
Hmm.
the not so great clients. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, can you charge more? And perceived value is a great way to kind of increase your prices. So if you show that, like, when I don't just email you a report or just send you text messages back and forth. I have a very detailed process for when I send you reports, and I send you videos, and I have a website with all these teams of people, and we provide you with updates on the latest, tax credits and tax code changes and all these different things. It increases the level of confidence. It shows that you've thought through all these different points and processes, and that people are willing to charge more for that, or I'm sorry, willing to pay more for that. And so those are my two questions usually is like, are all your clients your favorite clients? Usually not. And if you think you can charge more, marketing, branding, that perceived value is a great way to kind of increase your prices and make more money that way.
Yeah. I think another one is staff. Like you can attract people to your team, your website.
Yeah.
People who are looking to come work with that team will look at that website, and that'll tell them a lot about the culture of the business. And so it could be used as a recruiting tool.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. That's how I found when I came back from France to the States. That's how I found my first online job in accounting. I was trying to find online firms, and so yeah, it's a great place to kind of show the vibe of what your firm is. Are you small and boutique? Are you large? Do you have a huge team? Are you virtual? What are your values? All those different things people are going to dive into, whether it's a new team member or a new client or someone that you're thinking about partnering with or being on a podcast.
Hmm.
People are definitely going to be looking at your website and kind
Yeah.
of the value that you project there.
Yeah. And what happens when you get a referral? That person is probably going to just pull up your website. That's
Yeah,
going to be first impression once they get the referral.
yeah, yeah,
Um, all right. AI, hot topic right now. We just released a podcast on AI.
yeah.
Um, and what do you think? How do you think accountants can leverage AI in marketing?
Oh, leverage AI in marketing. Well, there's so many different ways. I mean, I know whenever you think of AI, everyone immediately goes to ChatGPT, which yes, ChatGPT is quite amazing. But there's also a ton of other ways. So, for example, if you were to record a YouTube video or a podcast or a webinar, AI can take that video, chop it up into a bunch of different clips, and you can post that online. What AI can also do is take that video, take that transcript, and let's say you're working with a marketer who cannot nail down your tone, but you have a 30-minute webinar, podcast, whatever, long form piece of content that you just talked for, those 30 minutes. Take that transcript, put it into ChatGPT or any LLM and just say, hey, you know, pick up my tone here. Now, write 12 social media posts based on that tone. Now we can replicate the tone without having to think and really dissect and really like listen to podcasts over and over. We're letting the machine do all that. And so yeah, I mean, there's a ton that you can do with AI. There's apps that'll now take an outline and make it into like a PowerPoint and slide deck, whatever you want to call it today, PowerPoint presentation. And there's a ton of different ways. I think the biggest thing for me is just be skeptical at first. I have definitely used AI apps where I'm like, it's not there yet. I see it. I see the goal. But yeah, there's plenty of AI apps that I'm not quite on board with yet. But there's still a lot you can do and a lot of different ways you can create pretty efficient processes.
Yeah, it's I found it is a really good editing tool too. Like I had a piece of writing that I did recently, and I just asked ChatGPT to like go paragraph by paragraph and give me suggestions, and it's great for that content, not just creation, but the editing piece.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm discovering like all kinds of ways to play with it. And I think that's what I tell people, like just mess around with it and see what you can figure out. Like it's a giant experiment that we're all going through right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, one of our kind of the most fun ways we've been using it recently is with our websites. And so, let's say we have a client who has a niche. We just did a website for a client who's niched in like small independent gyms. And, there's little catchphrases or messaging you can think like have strong financials. And it sounds a little bit like cheesy. But we put into like ChatGPT, give us a bunch of slogans, headlines, messaging that we can put forward on the website. And yeah, and they gave us like, 30 different things that we can incorporate on the website that speaks to gym owners. It's light and like the tacky, cheesy, like, strong financials
Yeah.
jargon, but and then it ties into accounting, and so it's all those kind of different things that you can use it for. The brainstorming is fantastic, and incorporating those different ideas. I think it's not too bad at creativity. It definitely has
Yeah.
its uses.
We have a fast-growing CPA firm for sale based in South Carolina. The owner is willing to stay on for 10 plus years to run and grow the firm, which services high net worth clients. The asking price is $10 million and the listing ID is SC2038. Visit PoGroupAdvisors.com to learn more.
So how can accountants, I mean, what do you think most, small accounting firms, let's say less than 5 million a year in revenue, maybe 1 to 4 partners firms. What do you think, what's a good kind of baseline marketing that they need to be doing? And what could
Yeah.
they do if they wanted to do more? Like what's kind of a common plan for an accounting firm, if you will?
Yeah, yeah. So, I think there's different factors that you would consider, whether they want to focus on their local community or they're open to like nationwide. Nationwide, typically recommend something like LinkedIn. Locally, typically would recommend focusing on local events, who's going to be the face of the business. But something that I include basically in every single plan we do is a newsletter. And a lot of people kind of think like, I don't read newsletters anymore. You do. One, you just don't think of them as newsletters because you're so tied into the relationship with that person that you don't think of it as a newsletter necessarily. Newsletters have consistently the highest ROI over the last 10, 15 years. And there's so many really great benefits to them. Unlike social media, you don't have like the engagement factor that you have to worry about too much, in the sense that if you send an email campaign to 5 people, those 5 people don't know that they're the only 5 people on the email list. Versus like LinkedIn or Instagram, engagement can just plummet, the exposure that post gets. So newsletter is definitely, there's a benefit there, especially when you're just getting started. And second, if people are opening your newsletter and reading it, they really like you. They really are finding the information that you read valuable. So if you consider like an email campaign's open rate, click-through rate, 20% is average for the financial services industry. If you're getting anything above that, that's great. And so having kind of like a 30% open rate, we may think that's bad, but that's pretty good. And that means that of the people subscribed to your newsletter, 30 people are actually really engaged with what you have to say. And I think that's a great relationship builder, whether it's with your clients or with, potential leads. I actually had one client come to us a few years ago, and within like a 6 months time frame, 2 of their partners passed away out of like 3 or 4. It was a small business. And this new partner came in. She's like, I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm worried about people leaving. Can you help us maintain the relationships with our clients? And so we put together a newsletter. It was very much like, telling people about like what's going on in their local community and about the firm. And, it was going great. They were getting good feedback. And even about, I think it was like a year or 2 later, they had someone who was like shutting down their business, but they said, can you keep me subscribed to your newsletter just with my personal email? And so even when they're like, I'm done, we're not going to use your services anymore, I still want to hear what you have to say. And so I think that really speaks to, I think, kind of just newsletters in general. They seem like, you may be deleting a lot, but I'm sure there are a few that you find really valuable. and your audience, whether it's clients or leads, there's ways to make it really valuable to them too.
Yeah. Yeah. I can attest to the value of a newsletter. We did that years and
Yeah.
years ago, and it's still gets a good open rate.
Yeah.
It's, people do value the content. I think you have to be intentional about what you're publishing, right? You can't
Mhm.
just um I mean, if you're putting out good stuff, people will open it and read it and value it. So
Yeah. Yeah. If you're just saying like, hey, I posted a new blog post, but there's ways to make it fun and engaging. You just kind of have to know your audience, know what they would click on. You can play around with it. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, there's lots of kind of ways to test things out there.
Well, I know you've got experience like with inbound, and I mean you've got a range of experience. Um, what do you think maybe is the most sort of like under the radar, really, other than the newsletter that you mentioned? I think this kind of qualifies as that, but like maybe something you've seen that someone does and it's really effective, but not that many people do it.
Mm. Um, so this is kind of hard to test and show. Uh, if you think about social media, it seems like every single person you're following, um, whether it doesn't matter the platform, it seems like they're really good with posting. It seems like they're posting all the time. They're posting photos of themselves, and you feel like you are the only person that cannot get it together, that cannot post content or captions, whether it's captions or images consistently. But if you consider how many people actually post versus the number of accounts there are, it is a very, very small percentage. Masori, he's like the CEO of Instagram. I don't even know his last name. I think that's his last name. He just goes by Masori. It's very Beyonce of him. But he was recently at a conference, and he asked everyone in the audience, okay, how many of you have follow a bunch of people or on Instagram on a daily basis? Nearly everyone raised their hand. And he said, okay, how many of you post to stories, which is like, the highlights, like kind of the quick little posts in the last 5 days? About half the people lowered their hands. He's like, okay, and how many of you have posted to your feed in the last 3 days? Half of those people lower their hands. And at this point, you have a small handful of people that are posting on a regular basis. And so while it seems obvious and while it feels like we're behind, just being able to post on a regular basis, you're already going to be ahead of the vast majority of people on social media. And I say it's under the radar because I think a lot of people don't realize how like big of a piece that is, like just being able to post consistently. They think everyone's doing it, but when you consider the number of accounts out there to the number of people that are actually doing it, it's very slim. So just being able to have that support, whether it's, you bring in a marketing agency or you have an admin or you have someone doing it, that's a huge piece of it. Just that consistency piece.
Wow. Yeah. I never thought about that. But if you think about the people that you see, that like I think about the people on social media that I see post regularly, like it's not that many that kind of stick out in my head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. If
that
you go
makes
through your
sense.
followers too, you'll be like, oh, wow, like that person hasn't posted. No, they used to post every day and then they've suddenly disappeared like months later.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I struggle with it too. I don't always have incredible thoughts to share. And so sometimes you got to look at like old content you did 2 years ago or something.
Or you're just busy,
Yeah.
that's why you need an admin, like you said, or a marketing agency to help you with it. So
Yeah.
love it. Um, all right. Last couple of questions here. Um, do you have a funny story or an interesting story from your career or from just life in general that you can share with our audience?
I have one because I feel like at every point, every accountant could relate to this feeling. It was probably like when you were first getting started. Um, but like I said, I mean, like you said, I have a bachelor's and master's in accounting. And while I was in college, basically every job I did was an accounting internship. And there was one accounting internship where I was working in one of the offices on campus. And we had a big event coming up where we had vendors and budgets and all these different things that I was tracking. And at one point, we were missing a check from a vendor. And I'm like, okay, trying to find this check. I call the vendor. I'm like, hey, we never received the check. And they're like, yeah, you did. You signed it. I'm like, no, I
Ooh.
didn't. There's no way I did. And they're like, yeah, you did. Here's the check image. They send me the check image. I look at the name and I'm like, that's no one in my office. So I'm now Google searching. I find that they're with the university. So I call. I find what office this guy works in, and they're not answering, not answering, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do at this point. So I talk to my boss, and they're like, call the legal office. And I call the legal office and they're like, okay, try calling accounts payable. So I call accounts payable or accounts receivable. I called it an accounts office. And I call them and I'm like, hi, I'm trying to find this check. It was written to this guy. It was supposed to go to our office. Do you have any idea like tracking where it came in? Did it come through you? And I just remember the woman on the phone says, this is absolutely none of your business. And I'm like, and I get excited because I'm like, I am an intern finding fraud. Let's go. So I am like, okay, bye. And so I hang up. And then I eventually called the legal office again. And I was like, I think I found the person. And then I talked to a very intimidating lawyer who just took down all the information. And he's like, never speak to, as I'm talking on a podcast, he's like, never speak to this to anyone again. And I was like, okay. And that was it. I don't know if like it ended up, it had to have been fraud because apparently the guy that signed the check had retired like a year ago. So I have no idea who signed the check. I have no idea if it was like the lady that yelled at me, but I've been riding that high from my college intern days. And then I was an auditor and then I left and it was like, oh man, like it was a great time at that internship. But
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
know.
can see how that would, you're just starting out in your career and you think, gosh,
I got him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then I never found fraud again. I was like, this is the best career ever. And I thought auditing was going to be like, every error was going to be fraud. It's not.
Enron.
Yeah, that's what I was really hoping for, but that was like the one and only time I quote unquote found fraud.
Ah, I wonder if somebody got away with it. That would
I
be,
know. That's
you
I would
know,
call I'm that lawyer really like he was very intimidating. I don't think it was him, but I think he was just a lawyer talking to like a 21-year-old college student was like, I think someone signed a check wrong and he's probably thinking this girl's gonna go tell everyone and
yeah, be in the school paper and
yeah,
then
yeah,
be,
exactly. So yeah, I think he was just trying to scare me into place, but I should have followed up and been like, where's that check?
yeah,
So yeah,
that's
you know,
cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
That's
All right, last question.
okay.
Book recommendation. Do you have a book to share with our
Hmm.
listeners?
Yeah, there was a great book. I also made sure it was like accounting related because I don't know. That's the subject of the of the podcast. There's a great book called Extraordinary Circumstances by Cynthia Cooper. She was the WorldCom whistleblower during like the Enron, like all that scandal. And it was I actually we got she came to my college campus. We got to meet her. But it's just one of those books that I remember because I think it was very telling of what the potential or like how important the job is of an accountant. That's really why I wanted to go into accounting and auditing and why I like working with this industry is that I don't know, there's the joke of like, oh, it's the accountant. Like they're not serious. They work in the basement, where there's no windows and they're all pale but it's like, no, like the work is so important. Like this, like the work of accountants literally holds businesses together. And we know this. Even if everyone else doesn't recognize it, I think the book does a great job of really just showing that. And if you have an interest in fraud and auditing, I highly recommend it. I think it's a good read. It's a really fun
Yeah.
read.
It sounds like fraud is like something you're sort of interested in. It's
Oh
kind of
man.
fascinating for you. That's good.
Yeah, I wanted. We had another back to my college days. We had a FBI agent once come talk to us about how they were like an accountant and an FBI agent, and I just thought that was so cool. And then they started talking about how like you had to like have like shooting training and like be in like all
Yeah.
these like. I was like, okay, like that's not. Maybe like divorces is more like my fraud like realm. I don't want to be like going into the mob
Yeah.
restaurant in the back and like that was too much. But yeah, I think definitely there's a lot of opportunity, I think, just to hold people accountable in our industry. And I think that's a good, especially when it comes to money, people should be paid for their work,
Yeah.
give them what they're due and hold people accountable. I think that's a really good thing. So
Yeah, you're talking about the FBI agent. I had a CPA that I worked with at Elliott Davis was a really good friend and colleague, and he went to work for the FBI white collar crime division, and
mhm.
um, he had to go through like a boot camp, and it
Yeah,
was pretty interesting. But that
yeah.
white collar criminals they can actually be pretty violent criminals, is what he was explaining to me. Like it's like a serious
Hmm.
FBI part of the FBI. So
Yeah. I want the tea, but I don't want to be involved in like the violence. I just want to like
yeah,
look through the papers and stuff and find the fraud. Um, but yeah, I also have a
yeah,
creative streak, so this is probably the
very
best
cool.
spot for me. So.
Well, Kristen, what's the best way for people to find you online and connect with you?
Yeah, you can check out our website, mediabooksagency.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Instagram. At Instagram, it's at Media Books Agency, and then LinkedIn, Kristen Corey. You can find me. I think the only other Kristen Corey is a doctor, so that's not me.
That's not you.
But
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to the Accountant's Flight Plan podcast. You can keep the momentum going by subscribing and sharing your thoughts with us. Visit our website at pogroupadvisors.com for more resources, and tune in next time for more exciting conversations like this one.
This podcast was produced and edited by Liesl Epps of Poe Group Advisors. Thanks for listening.